All right. Well, hello everybody. Happy January, and actually maybe more to the point, happy close to the end of January. So sort of kicking off our spring semester Facebook Live sessions with Superintendent. I'm Superintendent Karen Gaborik with the Fairbanks North Borough School District, and happy to be here. And so I just have to say on that January note, although the weather hasn't been bad, right? But on that January note, a friend of mine was at the gym the other day. We were talking, and he said, "Wow, the best thing about January is January 31st, and then it's over." I thought, well, okay, fair enough. So, but we really had been pretty lucky with weather. So, knock on wood, knock on some wood. So we've got a full slate of topics today, and I think spring is always just lots going on in the school district. So we'll have lots going on for Facebook Live. So invite people to join us or to listen later if they can't join us at lunchtime. We may have one of our new board members stopping by today, so I'm going to try to invite school board members and especially some of our new ones to see if spend some time with them and have folks get to meet them a little bit, learn a little bit about them. We'll talk about board meeting times, BP Teachers of Excellence, K12 Magnet, Hutchison High School, the budget, right? A little bit about budget timeline, and then the Youth Risk Behavior Survey, and we have draft calendars coming out actually for 2 years from now. We need to plan ahead on that. So, okay, so we will start with board meeting start times. So regular school board meetings, starting actually at the last meeting, now start at 6 p.m. So this is really nice for families and staff. We've had lots of appreciation from all kinds of people. Of course, we have so many staff also that are parents and have kids, and so it's just much easier because at the beginning of our board meetings, we always we feature students. So we have students, we have student music, and any student awards that we might have, district-wide kind of big awards. So it's just a much easier time for families. And the important piece of that is that you can listen to those on KUAC 3, right? Is that right?
6 to 7.
From 6 to 7. So lots of options. Go to our website. There's lots of ways to, technology has changed so much. It used to be you could only hear board meetings on the radio, and now there's so many different places that you can hear school board meetings and actually, borough assembly meetings and city council meetings. There's just lots of ways to get that kind of information. And we always post them afterwards too on our website. So, and we live stream them. So if you don't have time, or maybe there's a topic that's late at the end of an agenda, but you got to get kids to bed, or you need to go to bed, you can always look at the video on the website afterwards and see what the conversation was and listen to the board debate, and if there was action taken, you can find out what's going on there. We are also including links to board agendas on our emails that are going out to all our stakeholders, both internal, so our own employees, but also to parents, and community members can sign up for those emails, and not just to the agendas coming up, but kind of to hot topics too, especially again, those action items. So if people are interested in, either knowing what's coming up or wanting to know what the vote was, what the school board vote was on a particular topic, you could track that. So 6 p.m. regular board meetings. Now we also, especially in the spring, have quite a few work sessions. And so those have different start times. They vary a little bit. So be sure to check the website for the start times of those work sessions. Sometimes those start at 6:30, sometimes at 7. Sometimes the board has executive sessions right before those. So again, but the 6 p.m. start for regular board meetings, first and third Tuesday of the month. All right, so we've talked about board meetings. I also want to talk about BP Teachers of Excellence, and this is just such a wonderful program that BP sponsors. They have kind of really nice flyers this year. Who's your hero? And so BP sponsors this award. It's districts all over the state participate in this particular award. Nominations for this year are due February 1st. And they expanded the program this year. So last year, actually, they expanded. So you can nominate not only a teacher, if there's a particular teacher that you just love. And again, it can be somebody you work with. So you could be an employee, you could be a student, it could be somebody that you have or had, or you could be a parent, or even just a community member, and you just really appreciate a particular teacher. So anybody can make a nomination. But you can also nominate what they call an educational ally. And so this is somebody who works in a support type position in a school. So they list, it could be a principal, it could be a school nurse, it could be a custodian, or any unsung hero in the schools who goes above and beyond to serve their school and community. So that's another amazing award. And it's just really nice to have both of these awards recognized by BP, and we are so grateful to BP. The BP Awards event that's held in the spring is one of the nicest things that I attend. I really love doing it, and I get to help MC it and read the awards and talk about the recipients during the event, and it's a wonderful time, and their families are there, and members of their school staffs, and really a nice thing that BP does for teachers in Alaska. And then in Fairbanks, whoever wins like the big, the Fairbanks Teacher of the Year award, then I support their nomination for the State Teacher of the Year. So, and we've had a few people who've not only applied, but have gone on to win or be runners-up in that competition. So Fairbanks has a good showing with teachers across the state. So there is an online nomination, and also the nomination requires you to write, of course, some things. So spend a little bit of time, because it's not just submitting a name. You'll want to, describe, because there's a whole committee of people that read through these applications. You'll want to describe why your particular teacher or the ally, the unsung hero nomination, why you think those folks should be nominated. Okay, so we've talked about board meeting start times. BP Teachers of Excellence still have K12 Magnet, Hutchison High School, budget timeline, and school calendar coming up. So I will move to K12 Magnet. We had a December work session, so there's been work going on since last spring on K12 Magnet. And Principal of Tanana Middle School, Jethro Jones, has been spearheading the work. And again, it's not focused on a particular school, it's a district-wide effort. He's passionate about this idea, and so he's helped us facilitate all of the stakeholder groups that we've had. So at the December work session, we presented an overview of the research that's been done around K-12. So Mr. Jones has collected all kinds of research. There's lots of K-12 programs around the community or around the country, and actually in the state as well. It's interesting when we have military families who come to Fairbanks, they're used to K-8s and K-12s and lots of different types of options within school districts. So it's good feedback from folks who've had these experiences outside Fairbanks to come share what that was like. The committee, we basically give a report on ideas for the instructional program. So Mr. Jones did a lot of work putting together what the instructional program might look like and what the priorities of the work, everybody who participated in these work groups, what their priorities were. And now we're going to pause for a bit, and what's going to happen is that the board heard the information and had lots of great questions and some conversations, some dialogue. We're going to go into strategic planning here pretty soon and do a complete refresh. We've checked off so many strategic planning objectives from our first, original strategic plan. So we're going into strategic planning sessions in late February, and then the board will do their strategic planning session and hopefully finalize a strategic plan for the next 5 years. They will do that in April, mid-April. So my request of the school board, was that if you want the school district, if you want us to start moving in the direction of putting together a K-12 school in the school district, then make it a part of the strategic plan and make it one of those objectives, right? Because that's our driving document in terms of how I schedule people's work and allocate resources, and that includes time and people. So the one thing, especially when you're starting to talk about a new program, people often want to know about like where would the K-12 be, and who will be there, and how will it work, and how will kids get in. So we don't want to do that work again until the school board decides that this is the direction they want us to go, and then we'll start digging into what those possibilities are, and then at some point do a check-in with the board, probably I would say next fall again, and say, okay, so here's what we're thinking, here are some ideas, and just keep doing check-ins and say, do you want us to keep moving down this road? And they'll have to make some decisions too. So I was thinking, one thing, a couple people have asked, are you planning on building a new building? And that is not in my thought process right now, because again, our district enrollment is down. So it would be an idea of, is there a school that we want to, much like Barnett, when Barnett became a magnet school, that we want to reimagine into a K-12 magnet school. So, okay, I've got some comments. Will I be taking any questions? Always. Any cuts in the budget? So, okay, thank you, Ed Alexander. I love that you're listening. Thanks. So I have to be careful because I really want the school board to be the first to see the budget, and that comes out, and I'll talk about that in just a minute, February 1st. And Ed, when I get to budget, let me answer your question more specifically. So if you'll hang in there just a minute, let me finish this K12 Magnet piece, because I have from Jolie, yeah, I love the idea of a K12 model, but would not want resources from other current schools to take, and I can't quite see it all, to take away. I completely hear you. And so it's difficult to start it. You can't start a new program with no cost, but it's one of those things. So think about when a charter school starts. So we have a new charter school coming on board, Discovery Peak, next year. Because that charter school will have 200 kids that are already in the system, and hopefully some homeschool kids too, right? So that would be new kids. That would be terrific if we always hope the charters maybe pick up some homeschool kids. So we'll be shifting teaching staff allocations to those schools, and it's not a perfect puzzle to put together, but so you shift teaching staff. The place where you end up investing new money is sometimes in support staff, because if schools only have one secretary, it's not like you're going to pull a secretary away from North Pole Elementary so that it can go to a charter school, right? So you kind of have to front money to these new programs, and then in the second year it settles out, because then everything is formulaic, right? So our staffing for schools is formulaic. How many kids, how many teachers do you need? What are the basics in terms of a secretary, a nurse, those kind of things. So there's definitely, you have to front money initially, and then it starts to sort itself out. So there would be an investment. And I think, again, that'll be an important conversation for the board to have. And so how do we get at options in our system for families who really want some different options? Again, I don't think charter schools, we have charter schools. I don't think every time we want an option that we necessarily want it to be a charter school. I would like our sort of regular system to envision and embrace and build these options. That's been my philosophy. So, okay. So I'm going to skip right to budget. Oh, just on the point of K12 Magnet. So again, mid-April, if it makes it into the strategic plan, then we will know that that we're going to kind of keep moving forward. Of course, there'll be these benchmarks where the board makes decisions along the way. I like to run it that way, because sometimes it takes a couple of years to put these programs together. So we need to be sure that we're bringing everybody along, and that the original thought is still a good thought. So let me switch to budget. So the proposed budget, we will post it. It'll be posted for the public for the regular board meeting on February 1st. The actual board meeting where the board will first have a chance to discuss the proposed budget will be the regular board meeting on February 5th. So we'll have it posted on the district website for anybody to look at February 1st. And then let me just run through the calendar a little bit. Once that happens, then it'll be open for public testimony. So if you like to testify in person, any regular board meeting after that, you can come testify. There'll also be work sessions that happen. Some of those work sessions won't have public testimony, but you can always give written comments, and you can certainly come and listen if you like. The public work session on March 4th, there will be public testimony. So that would be a good spot if you'd like to come to a work session. And then, of course, any board meeting in between. And then the board really has to finish their work there's 3 phases to budget: proposed, then recommended, and then final approved. The board has to finish their work on the recommended budget the week after spring break. They've got to get it done by that Friday, because then we need a week to finish it up and then send it. It's due to the Borough Assembly by April 1st. So they've got to finish. So the week of March 18th, that week after spring break, is also a great time to testify as well. Tons of other ways that you can give feedback. You can always email the school board. Also, we'll have a budget link right on the front page, and it'll have dates and times. And when you go to the budget page, there will be a budget input button that you can push, and then you can give input that way right on the website as many times as you want on any topic that you want. We collect all that and then just give it straight to the board. It's unfiltered. We just give it all straight to the board about every 2 weeks, right? We give them the feedback every 2 weeks so they have it. So lots of opportunities for input. And again, if you can't come to a meeting but want to provide input, you can do it in many written ways. So here's my philosophy around budget this year. There's been a fair amount of conversation about how much fund balance we've had. So that's certainly taking that into consideration. we just gave $7.4 million to the borough for roof projects, so that takes some of that fund balance down. My goal this year, from a district perspective, and I still have a few more. I have about a week left to finish my work on the proposed budget. But my role is to keep a status quo level of services in the school district this next year. So I am not anticipating rolling any significant cuts. Now, the school board, one thing they'll always talk about is class size. That's always their highest priority, and every time we do a survey, that's always number one. I mean, just without question, any stakeholder, that's number one. So they may have conversations about class size and say, hey, do we want to even make it lower, that sort of thing. And then, they'll look at different services, they'll look at different departments, they'll look at different services, they'll have all those conversations. So that's where the work sessions kick in. If they have a question about facilities, right, and they want to talk about, how the facilities department and, what the budget looks like for that, then we'll have our executive director there and they'll walk through that. So it'll just be a process for them in terms of where they want to land. They then put together a recommended budget, and that's what gets sent to the Borough Assembly. And then at that time, then we shift gears and we talk about, and they'll decide actually by the time they do that recommended budget on April 1st, what they want the ask in terms of the local contribution, what they want that to be. So it's been decreased every year for the past 3 years. So, they'll probably, I'm sure they'll have some conversation about that. Our enrollment has also been decreasing, so I think we'll want to see maybe if those two numbers are proportional. If they're not, they'll probably have a conversation about that. And then legislative session, right? And so Governor Dunleavy in the State of the State did not mention a thing about education, which was interesting. So, we've talked to the Interior delegation, talked to, lots of course, conversation around that. There's some who feel like the education budget out of Juneau will remain fairly stable, which would be great for us, but there's also conversation that, again, with some of these plans around the permanent fund dividend, where's that going to come from? And will education, we're the largest slice of the pie statewide. And so will education, again, become a pawn in that conversation? And that's what's frustrating, because then we have to start thinking about cut scenarios just in case the legislature cuts education funding statewide, and then that's where it starts getting, I call it the roller coaster ride. So I'm hoping for not too much, maybe none. No roller coaster ride would be terrific this spring, but it's democracy, it's politics. We'll see what happens. So Governor Dunleavy's budget, I was reading the article in the newspaper. It sounds like they've decided it will be out by February 13th, so that will be very telling. We'll have an idea then. So, okay, let's see. And just a thank you from Jolie. So great. All right, so we have talked about the board meeting start time, Teachers of Excellence, K12 Magnet, budget timeline. So I want to talk a little bit about Hutchison High School. We did just a huge district-wide comprehensive career technical education review, and it was in perfect, the timing was perfect because we get federal funding through the Perkins grant, and so we needed to, there's some things in that particular piece of legislation at the federal level that had shifted, so we needed to update our grant application and our program of study and our entire district plan, our career technical education plan. So we did a big review. And then part of that was a review of Hutchison High School. And so we engaged the Hutchison High School staff and, of course, Principal Robin Taylor over there to really dig into where Hutchison wants to go in the next 5 years. So Hutch also did a 5-year strategic plan. And this April, they'll finish that up, but they've got this really nice document. And again, it's not quite public yet, but it's just a nice, it's much like our oh, you guys don't have I didn't double cite it. But it's just it's a nice 2-page document that you can't read right there, but we'll get it out, and it just talks about what's important at Hutchison High School, where they want to head. They did their own vision statement and their strategic goals. Their very first strategic goal is around equity and access and expanding opportunities for students. They talked about student success and personalized learning. Infrastructure and partnerships, which I think is great. We're always trying to leverage partnerships, not only with the university, but also with other agencies and organizations around town when it comes to career tech ed. So I think they're headed in just a wonderful direction. So really excited to see the final version of that come out. We did implement a lottery at Hutch, and this was a very specific move toward equity and expanding student access. And so much like K12 Magnet and other schools that have lotteries, Hutchison High School now has a lottery. And so the important piece of that is that it is running right now. And so the enrollment deadline is February 22nd at 3 p.m. And Charisse is going to share the link right now so everybody can get to it. Of course, it's also on our school district website. So if you know any students or families that are thinking that they'd like to apply to be in Hutchison High School, and it's 9 through 12, so they of course can take lots of ninth graders, in fact a full 100, maybe more they might be taking this coming year, but there's also spots in 10th grade and 11th grade and even 12th grade sometimes. So, and the lottery is for students that want to be enrolled full-time. So if students want to be enrolled full-time, be sure to enter the lottery. And then we were almost up to 200 students who access Hutch part-time, which has been amazing. So if you have or know of a student, a high school student, and these are often juniors and seniors, not confined to that necessarily, but that's when they start to have some room in their schedules to move and do some different things with electives. If they want to attend Hutch part-time, have them be sure and talk to their school counselor. And we have shuttles. We have shuttles that run between Lathrop High School and Hutch, and also West Valley, which they can walk when it's warm. But you know, if it gets cold or they're running short on time, they can take the shuttle. And then we even have kids coming in from North Pole, and sometimes they drive, or sometimes we work with them in terms of public transportation. And so anyway, we're trying to make sure that Hutch, that lots of students have access to Hutch, and that's on a both full-time and part-time basis. So great things happening there. It's very exciting. And more to come on final plans. I'm just looking at the clock. Okay, in April. We are getting close here. So we talked about board meeting times, BP Teachers of Excellence, K12 Magnet, Hutchison High School. We talked about budget, mostly timeline, more to be revealed when it becomes public. So that'll be February 1st, so look for that. And then of course, I'll be doing Facebook Lives, and I'll have video, and we'll have lots of more dialogue and opportunity for conversation about budget once it becomes public. The next thing I want to talk about is the Youth Risk Behavior Survey. So this is an anonymous survey for 9th through 12th graders. It's conducted every 2 years. It helps monitor the prevalence of behaviors that put Alaska youth at risk for the most significant health and social problems that can occur during adolescence and adulthood. And so we are conducting the survey in our high schools on February 27th. Here's the thing about that survey. Students have to have parent permission to participate. So we're encouraging parents to consider giving permission. They can do it right on Power School. We're also going to put a link up here, and parents are going to get an email next week also about it. And here's the important thing about, we call it the YRBS, the Youth Risk Behavior Survey, is that so many of our partner agencies use that information, and we use that information to apply for grant funding. So it's this, and that happens statewide. And so it's this data set that's really critical to accessing both state, but a lot of federal funds as well, to give services to Fairbanks and to Fairbanks families. So please consider, if you're a parent, please consider allowing your 9th through 12th grader to take that survey. And then I want to shift to calendar before we leave. So we are looking at a draft calendar for 2020, 2021, if you can believe it. It just is amazing. It feels like this might be my own sort of age reflection, but it feels like just not that long ago it was the 90s. So, okay, but 2020. So we have two options. They're not drastically different. And I'm just showing you a couple highlighted areas, and this is what our calendar looks like. The big differences on these drafts are the start date. So one is a Thursday start date in August 13th, and one is a Monday start date, August 17th, which then pushes the end date just a little bit. So it would either be ending on a Friday in May, like May 14th, or on a Tuesday, May 18th. Other than that, not huge changes. So you can give input on this. We have a calendar feedback form, and so I think Charisse pushed out that link. It's also available on our website, and internally we'll be sending the link to employees and externally to parents, so lots of opportunity for input. It just asks what your affiliation is. So are you a staff? Are you a staff and parent? Are you a parent? Are you a community member? So that we can sort of get the demographics on what the input looks like. And then, the questions are pretty straightforward. What's your favorite version, and what are your comments? Because we like to know why people are thinking what they're thinking. And again, some of those start end date times, again, when you think sort of community-wide and, just how that impacts different things, it's good to get that feedback from folks. So we'd love it if you'd share your input with us. And sometimes the decisions are so clear. It's like this last calendar that we adopted. I mean, it was just huge support for one version, and that's just beautiful when we get that kind of input that's really clear. And that was across stakeholder groups. It was really, that doesn't happen very often. So, teachers kind of have a perspective, and then principals have a perspective, and parents have a perspective, and we're trying to often find that middle ground, but every once in a while, everybody agrees on the same version. So, well, thank you guys. I'm really happy to be back after kind of a long winter break, at least a winter break from Facebook, and excited about this spring. And I love this kind of spring weather, right? You have snow, you have enough snow that you can enjoy, get out and play, and it's warm enough to go do it. So hope you guys are enjoying the weather too, and lots more to come on budget and then spring events as they come up. So if you ever have any topics that you'd love to hear about that you don't necessarily, send them our way. You can email me, or you can call our main office here, 452-2000. And yeah, we will, I will try to continue to get board members here. Almost all of our board members work. So to get them here at lunch is challenging sometimes. So, but I'll keep inviting them, and because it'd be great for everybody to meet them and just have a little bit of dialogue back and forth and share who they are as board members. So great, thanks, and I'll see you next time in 2 weeks.